On one of my recent videos, there was a discussion about whether or not Kody and Robyn are rich. And I think there's two things from this past episode that kind of show that, at least by my standards, they're not. Now, when we talk about rich, that's a very subjective term. So there might be people who own all their house, aren't in debt, but live very modestly that you would think aren't rich. And there are people who are millions of dollars in debt that people might consider rich. Now, what I mean when I'm referring to rich is, do they have disposable income? Are they massively in debt? And I think the answer to that is no. And there's two things that came up in this most recent episode. One is sort of obliquely about the new house that they bought for $2.1 million. And this is their old house that they sold for 1.775. So they took on more debt in doing this. And one of the things that came out when their house was sold is that a real estate agent looked into it and told me that as the house had doubled in value, because it's doubled in value, they bought it for 800 and something, they kept taking out equity loans against the home. They would not need to do this if they were spending within their means. And during that time is when they still had access to Janelle, Christine, and Mary's money. And from several different people, they have said they assumed that this extra money that was coming in that Janelle wasn't spending, Christine wasn't spending, Mary wasn't spending, was going into long-term savings. And that did not seem to be the case because there was kind of no money when all was said and done. Christine and Janelle had to fork up money to pay off, Janelle and Mary had to fork up money to pay it off before they lost it. And there was not home money to do that. We know that Mary was paying for her rental out of her money because that came up when she looked at a large rental. Christine was paying for her mortgage and all of that. So Kody and Robyn weren't living within their means already. They were already pulling out money against their home because their expenses required it of them. Now, Christine, Janelle, and Mary's TLC money is not going to the family pot. Kody and Robyn no longer have access to it. So I can't imagine they have more money than they used to. Additionally, Kody very specifically said in this last episode, episode 3, that when they wanted to buy this more expensive house right here, which, by the way, that is wrong. It's 7,700 square feet. I don't know why both of these listings from Flagstaff have the square foot list. And no, that's not the price per square foot, because if I look at it someplace else, it actually shows that the price per square foot is calculated being like 4,000, which is not the case either. What we discovered is he said, in order to buy this bigger house, we now had to get serious about selling Coyote Pass, which means that they are already anticipating they're going to need their share from Coyote Pass in order to pay for this house. And that's a limited thing. They can sell it one time. I think they each get like 200,000. So between Kody and Robyn, they get 400,000, which to me is a huge amount of money. But they seem to be spending money like there's nothing. People have gone through and look at what they're spending on jewelry, what they're spending on paintings, what they're spending on figurines. Last I heard, they had 3 kids in college. Dayton might have graduated, but I do not have a read on what Dayton is up to, so I don't know. But last we heard, he was still living at home. They have 2 younger kids in school. They seem to be traveling a lot. Kody's going to be starting his projects. I think, my opinion is that they are blowing through money. They probably would be rich if they were living within their means, but I don't know. I think that they're very likely to be in financial trouble extremely soon.